Hello and welcome to My Story, a program here at Church of Uganda Family TV that centers on inspiring, motivating, and encouraging someone out there who would want to give up in life. Basically, this is seen through the people we host here in this program, the words they tell us, everything they give us, how they went through their life, what they went through, and the main points of transformation that made them what they are. Specifically, today it is really interesting. Born in Soroti district, she is a person passionate at facilitating, counseling people, helping the needy, and most importantly, she loves listening to gospel music and also sometimes dancing, because this was visible at the National Prayer Breakfast at State House on the 8th of October when she was really dancing and enjoying the music. So, Honorable Asamo Grace Hellen, you're most welcome to Church of Uganda Family TV.
Yeah, thank you. I want also to thank Family TV for inviting me to be part of the TV where I'm going to tell my story. And it's my prayer that my story will influence some people out there of how I have moved away. And I want to thank you for recognizing my best hobbies, listen church music, dancing, listening to the Bible, and really believing in the issues of God.
Yeah. Thank you so much for allowing us. Honorable Asamo is the Minister of State for Disability Affairs in the government of Uganda. Now, it is interesting, and of course, please, Honorable, you can first greet the people out there.
I want to take this opportunity to greet all the people out there listening to us and all those who are viewing us that we are here today in Family TV. I want to thank the church for this TV which is coming out to get us to the public. And today I will be telling my story of how did I arrive to be a minister, because he has just introduced myself as a minister, but it has been a long way. And I think I will give my story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, when you mention of you are now a minister, can we run back to that person? Where are you born, and where does your life start from?
Okay. I think Soroti district was our original district, but I'm born in Serere district. Both my mother and father came from Serere. Unfortunately, they all left us and they are no longer on us. But I want to give a story that from where I understood my life. I started as a child, and this child here grew with a mother mostly. So I would say that a single parent, but this was a married woman, properly married to her husband. But in that family, when my father was an engineer, my mother was a nurse and was an engineer in the army. So you realize that because of my state, I became a disabled child around 4 years because of an injection. And somehow it affected the family relationship because my father said, I can't be in a family where a child is disabled. I don't think this is my child. So my mother, through her being a nurse, gave her an encouragement to say, I will hold on my child. And my mother struggled with me and made sure that she had to bring me for physiotherapy in Mulago Hospital. Those days it was only Mulago. So you can imagine coming from Soroti on a night bus to come with your child to come to Mulago for physiotherapy, get some assistive device to help this child. It was a bit expensive. Of course, now things have changed a bit. Then, in that struggle, I will tell you that woman is my hero and she's my role model because she stood all the odds that the family members could tell her about her child. And that child is the minister today. So I will start and give you from that background. I went to school and we were four in number in our womb of that mother of ours. I was the second born. And somewhere, my mother decided to put me in primary school. So I started in a school called Father Hilda's in Soroti. So Soroti really is where I've grown. Then I went to a school called Pioneer. That was a school for Indian children. And then I went to a school which was called Soroti Primary, and it's currently still Soroti Primary. And when I went to those primary schools, there was one thing: my mother was overprotecting the disability. So she made sure that I would go to schools where I can pass on one side of the road so that a car does not knock me. So she tells you, pass this side, you know, you're already disabled. I don't want an accident to happen to you. So I would go to school.
Isn't life at school challenging as a disabled child?
You know, my disability was not so dangerous to me. Me personally, I think I accepted my state as a disabled person because even in school, I had challenges. Even if I wanted to go and play, maybe running, everybody doesn't want to associate with me, but I would do it. I'll tell them my mother paid fees and I have to participate. So I started breaking barriers when I was still this small kid. I forgot about disability. It was like part of my life. And I said I will move on. So when I was in school, many teachers called me a stubborn child. But because of the disability, I had to be stubborn to be seen and heard. Because if you don't become stubborn, nobody would see you. Because if the inferiority complex had come over me, I would have remained so docile. I would be remain fearing. But I made sure that I made friends with the able-bodied, and we were able to move together. And I would debate with them. Whatever was happening in the school environment, I was there. I will tell you that I started leadership when I was in my primary level. Because sometimes in the boarding school, you know, when you're in the boarding school, they tell you to be a dormitory prefect. Because I was stubborn, they said, let's see how we shall control her by giving her leadership. But every time the teachers would come, they will find my name number one on the list of people who talked beyond the time the lights were out. And they will ask me now, you also talked. I said, you know, when the conversation was in the dormitory, I couldn't avoid the temptation. So the teachers will ask me, so now, since you are the prefect, what is the punishment you need? I never wanted to be beaten. I think I had my own problems with my body. I didn't want anybody to touch it again. The best thing I will ask is to go and clean the latrines in the school. And in those latrines in the school, my friends would accept, would go and clean, smoke, do everything, and we're very happy because we know tomorrow again we shall clean the toilets. We shall continue discussing our things in the night. And some of the topics were really good. You have gone to school, you know what it is when, especially when you're out of class. But that attitude of cleaning the toilets, I'm telling you, it affected me up to today. I cannot go to that toilet. Whether it is what or what, I think to me, it grew me through the lifestyle. So, I went to Sorot SS for starting my secondary, but I completed in Nkoma SS. And in Nkoma SS, I did my O-level. But along the way, I will still keep taking you back where I came from. I had these relatives also who tell my mother, why are you educating her? You know, this is a disabled girl. She'll never get married. And maybe you're wasting your time. Where will she get a job? Who will take a limping person into an office? But my mother said, okay, all my siblings went up to S6 and the normal procedure of going to the university. My mother told me, with you, I'm giving you a stepping stone. So you start from there and your life will start from there, depending on how you are going to manage your S4. The next place I'm taking you is a TTC. I still appreciated it because I said, no, let me try. And everybody told me that is the stepping stone. And that was my stepping stone. So in 1990, I became a qualified grade 3 teacher. So that is first the beginning. Now I'm entering the career. Yes.
That is interesting.
But I also want to remind Family TV that I received the Lord in 1978, 78, 79. That time Uganda was really in terrible state. And we had wars. Amin was still in government, and then there were these fights, and Obote was planning to come back. And I think at that point, this government at that point wanted to make Uganda become a Muslim country. The people who approached us as young children were able to tell us that Jesus is alive, he's a savior. He will bring you from all these challenges. And he said, but how do we get out of challenges where at home you don't have soap, at home you don't have salt, at home you don't see sugar, at home it was no, everything was like a dream. You wouldn't wake up and get soda like these days the young people get soda. So life was so hard that at times, my mother being a nurse, we depended also on the patient's food. There was food for the patient. So you go and eat from there, and come back home. And we said, but if Jesus was there, he would have saved us. But the man kept on telling us. And I remember coming home and I told my mother, somebody told me to become saved. And he said, saved now? How? First of all, our parents used to take ajono, beer. So she said, who is going to be boiling the water? If you become saved, it means nobody will be boiling for me water. And you know that I'm the one who's struggling for you. You know that I'm the one supporting you. And I said, Mommy, tomorrow they told me to go and attend a fellowship. There was an evening fellowship, so I went to the fellowship. So when I came back from the fellowship, I told my mom that, for your respect, I will boil the water, but I will not drink the beer. But I will boil the water. Let's meet, have a meeting point. And somehow we agreed. Earlier on, before I became saved, my mother, of course, put me so much into church. I attended all the Sunday school classes. I would read the Bible in church. Little did I know that I was getting into the world of salvation. So I used to practice a lot in the Sunday school in all St. Peter's of Soroti. That's where I was baptized. That's where I was also confirmed. And then after that, when I picked up on being saved, I think my life was not the same. There are certain things which happen as miracles. And I just don't know. Even where I am, I don't know how I came to be. But I still believe it is God's power that maybe went through His Excellency, and I find myself in this level. Yeah.
Interesting. That begins from when you accepted Jesus as your Savior.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And now, before we head to the career part of it, when do you feel mom has stopped caring for you? Because now when you get to career, I don't think mom is going to still come in.
No. My mom, by the way, she died just 1 year ago, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. But my mom has been there for me up to now. You see, there's what you have a child with disability. You see, you'll wonder why I'm saying so. Yes, I have the money. But my mother followed me up to the time she died. When I complain of any small thing, she says, you go and check this quickly. When I say this, she wants the children to go for holidays, she keeps them. And I'm going to tell you the career that why did I say my mother followed me up to where I was up to today. Because when I think she had this feeling, my child, this disabled child, how is she going to move in her career? In the career path, when I went to this grade 3, in 1994, I got into a diploma. And who was keeping the children? It was my mom, because I had children by then. And of course, my children by then, the man who produced with me also died because of the Karamojongs. So I had some 2 children, and then things happened. Now I have another husband who is staying with me for the last 28 years. And you realize that during that path, when I wanted to go for a diploma, I said, now, mommy, I have been admitted, but I also have the children. So what happened? She took over the children because she was still working, and I had to go back where? To do my diploma. Because she said, if you don't add your papers, nobody will give you a job. So when I did the diploma, I came out in 1996. 1996, I get a career. I am supposed to be a teacher, but some NGOs want to give me work. The NGO is paying me 3 times what I'm getting as a teacher. But the teaching profession is saying you shouldn't leave the teaching profession. So I said, okay, is there a possibility of hiring 2 of them? The other one was a 2-year contract. This was a more of a permanent what? Job. So I said, okay, if I can juggle the 2, I will manage. So I was taken tomorrow to Karamoja. I even feared to go to Karamoja. But when I went to Karamoja, I had friends, my OBs and OGs, they said, you come and work here. I said, the stories are here about Karamojons, and this is still about mindset now. Out there, sometimes you think when they send you somewhere that things are worse. But I think for me, my going to Karamoja changed even my mindset of thinking about people. Because when I went to Karamoja, I started working as a teacher in KDA Primary School, but I was also mobilizing the disabled people for 1996 elections. You remember after the Constitution, Then the elections were coming. So I was really sent there to mobilize persons with disabilities to participate in the elections, but also to do their own elections of councillors. So I said, okay, let me try this work. When I went to the cow's office, the cow asked me, what have you come to do? Have you come to die? Are you going to move the whole Karamoja? Karamoja by then was from Kotido up to Amudat. So he said, cow, how do I proceed? And the cow told me, why don't you write your reports and take to Kampala? And I've never seen disabled people who are so many. Because in Karamoja, I understand if you're a disabled person, you don't read, so you are not seen among men. So you are really kept behind. Then I told him, cow, why don't I try? Because of the background of Christianity and wanting, I said, let me go to the field. If God wants me to die on duty, I have no problem. So the cow said, okay, I'm going to give you a driver who will be helping you to move. And this driver was under instruction. We were running at a very high speed whenever we're in the field, because you are either getting the bullet or the bullet gets you. That was the life. So we would run and really you see dust. And when we would go, there were no hotels in Karamoja by then. I would either stay in a missionary, the missionaries stay in those places of theirs. Those are the places I really enter. I go and meet maybe a sister in charge of the place, and I say, can I get accommodation here? I am supposed to do this, and then they would give me accommodation. Sometimes I'd sleep in schools. But when I mobilized the people, and the day we had the day for election in Moroto town, the cow was surprised to see very many people, and he said, oh my God, you are very strong. And I said, God is in control. I would even move and you hear them saying they have just hit somebody. And I pass and my neighbors are asking, where did you pass? And I said, I passed on the same road. But I think it's everybody has got their own time and everything happens. Yeah. So from Karamoja, in 2003, the chance comes up for, first between there, I get a position of being a deputy head teacher. I went for, applied for a job, and when I applied for this headship, everybody told me, we have applied for more than 4 times. We have never succeeded. Who are you who wants to apply for a grade 1 school? Those days we used to have grades. Grade 1 was the highest in the primary school if you wanted to be a head teacher. So I said, So I looked at the man was discouraging me. I said, let me try. So I put in my application. And when I was shortlisted, people asked me how much I'd paid. And I said, I didn't pay anything. I don't have a cow here. I don't have a goat. I don't have anything. So what would I have paid for this noble thing? When I appeared for interview, of course, the first question I was asked, you have never acted anywhere as an administrator. Why do you think you can be the best person for this job? And my question was, I don't know whether your advert was also wrong, because it never asked you if you had acted. It just asked for experience of 8 years, and I have the 8 years. And you wanted a diploma, I have the diploma. So the chairman looked at the others. So the next question I was asked, do you have any health problem? And I knew the health problem was driving to my disability. And I told them, if you think about the disability, I have been with this one since I was a kid. It is not a sickness. I don't go to any hospital. It is part of my life. So the last question, they didn't ask me anything on education. The last question was, now, when we give you to be a head teacher, are you not going to be having problems of running around? And I said, sir, if you really sympathize with me, moreover, as a disabled, give me to sit in the office, because right now I am running every day. When you teach on duty, you are in the kitchen, you are in the dormitory, you are in the classes, you are everywhere, getting latecomers and ABCD. But when you are a head teacher, you sit in the office and just command the teachers. Teachers so and so, bring me a report. Senior woman, do this. You do this. You would have saved me if that is your thinking. So I left the panel knowing that maybe I had attacked the panelists. I'm telling you, in the grace of God, I was the only lady who got that position. And everybody was wondering, again, my staff were asking, what did you pay? But one thing I did, there was a lady who was a deputy head teacher by then. And I said, I want to remain in this very school. So I asked her that, but you see, your father is on the panel. She was a Karamojo. Why not getting yourself up? Because my plan, which I'm now announcing on TV, was to push her, then I enter. So you create space. So I created space. I said, now you Flores, you go to be a full head teacher. Leave this place for some of us. Then she said, but I didn't think about it. Let me put my papers. Good enough. She was pushed out. I indeed came back and became a deputy in her place. And I think for me, that was the beginning. So when I worked in Karamoja, I will also say that Christianity is very good. I was in charge of tempting areas. I was in charge of the whole world food program in Karamoja, in my school, because the deputies who are in charge. You know, in Karamoja, we have a feeding program, and this one comes every now and then. Other deputies, they'll find when they have sold food. Me, I would never sell food. I'll tell them, I don't sell the school food. This food is for the children. And you are really under temptations because it comes, it leaves the DO's office, it comes up to you, the teacher, who's responsible. And some people would sell, you know, when you are corrupt, sometimes your head does not think. The sugar which comes from world food is very white, it's not in our market. But you find somebody sells those sacks to the market and the sacks are bought, and then they ask, who gave you this sugar? And the deputies were bought. But for me, everybody would say, no, with this one, we don't have a problem. From that school, I was transferred to Moroto Army School. I went to the Army School. Again, I went for the same responsibility of taking care of the stores. Because the World Food staff said, if she's moving there, we still recommend she takes over the what? The stores. And I think that is the trust that I built. And in my career, or even if I was a deputy, if it came to asking for credit worthiness in shops to help the boarding section stay, every supplier will say, if it is Asamo signing, we shall give. If it's another person, we shall not give. So somewhere, sometimes maybe even with my boss, there would be some kind of what? Clashing. So in 2003, not 2003, I think 2000, remember I'd worked for 96, 97, 98. 2000, I tried to go for upgrading. I wanted now a degree. So I came to Makerere. I was admitted. But you know, when you have children, you have education, certain problems. I found myself in a dilemma of not able to pay fees. I said, I think God has put me somewhere. I have my diploma. Let me go back and think of how to educate what? My children. Let them also get some paper. In 2003, a miracle occurs. Government sponsorship comes. They say, apply. It came that it's only 3 of us who were picked. Again, I was the only woman. I was picked to come to do a degree in Chambogo University under government sponsorship. So you can imagine the miracle I had. So when I came, I went to school. People were, how did she get it? And I was like, it's about being assertive. It's about prayer. It's also about God giving you that kind of guide. Remember, I had already missed out 1 year. So now this time, government sponsorship, I said, I can forget about Makerere University. Let me now go to Chambogo University. After all, what I want is a degree. Because even there I was doing education management. Now I came back here and continued in Chambogo. So when I got my job, when I finished the degree in 2006, I qualify. My DO tells me I'm going to give you a full school. As I was in Kampala here, I was also doing other things. You know, sometimes they say moonlighting. So I moved, I go to Nudipu, which is the National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda. There was a problem. I think one person who was being recruited had challenges of accountabilities. So I just whispered to the chairman of the organization. I was a board member. I said, why don't I try this thing? He said, how can you go for such a job? So I said, no, I can try to be a deputy director of this organization. I will use the knowledge I used in the school to do administration here. So they said, okay, let us try her. When they tried me, I got the job. I left now the board. I went and announced the General Assembly. I said, I'm no longer General Secretary. Now I moved to being in the job here.
But don't you feel at some point, do you feel like I'm being favored?
It is God favoring me.
Oh, okay.
Because everything enters when I'm not expecting. I even come in when I don't know that it is me who's taking it. So when I get this job in Nudipo, it was hard. People started writing to the donors. Remember, I'm coming from Karamoja, where we had never seen a computer. So they said, the new person who has come to take over the head of program doesn't even know how to open a computer. Now the donors say, now, what type of person have they brought? The village woman. So I said, wow. So one day the donor comes, flies in from Norway, comes to the boardroom. So when he's talking, he tells me, yes, Asamo. I said, yes, sir. You are now the deputy director. I hear you are the acting director, because my director had been fired. I said, oh, yeah, I'm acting. He said, okay, we're going to have a meeting. So when he calls me for a meeting, he places his laptop there. Little did they know that when I was in Chambog, that was the first course I had to take. I had to go for computer classes. Whenever there was a main class, I would always sneak to the computer lab to learn a computer. So my head also was sharp too. And all this is, when you are in a stage, please learn something. So by the time the man told me, said, you now sit there, and all the other members of Nudipo, our directors are there. Now I'm the chief director. So he tells me, open that laptop, go to document this, and read it. Thank God. I went, clicked. I was there, I moved, I got the thing, I started reading. After I finished, he started walking. You know how the Bazunguza, they never sit down in one place. They keep moving up and down. So then he was doing his head. I said, what is it? My psychology was telling me, is there a problem? So later he says, Ugandans like rumamongering. So I asked him, Seven, what is it? He said, no. I was told you don't know even how to open what? A computer. But I'm shocked you have read the what? The document. And I told him, every person in life has got a day of learning. Whoever says he has learned had a day of learning. So I also had a day of learning, and I think I'm moving to having learned and continue to learn. So that's how I came to that place. Yeah. So I will also tell you, how did I get to politics? I think I started, that is also back. I will tell you that I started being a small politician when I was still a young girl, but starting by playing local politics. So there was a time when we were asked to come up with a Weso chairperson, district Weso chairperson. Weso used to have associations all over Uganda. Weso is Uganda Women's Effort to Save what? Orphans. And that time we were coming out of war. So this is me who was walking on the street. People are in a hall, and then somebody says, they used to call me teacher. Teacher, where are you going? You go to that hall. I said, what is happening? They told me, let's go for an election. I said, election? I don't know what election is. What are you people electing for? They said, Weso. I said, but the person who has been a chairperson is my auntie. They said, no, she's not old, she has left. I said, okay, let me go to the room and see what is happening there. So when I went to the hall, it was called Lukiko Hall. I get powerful women. And by the way, I was more tiny than you. I was too small and really featherweight. So I entered the room, I sat and I looked around. And then some people came and whispered, you are going to make a statement. I said, oh, of what? So somebody scribbled for me some few lines. Now, when I got up, I told the organizers that, please, I have come here to be nominated. They said, okay, you are going to be 3 ladies. One lady got up and talked about how rich she is and how powerful she is. Another one came and belittled me, how I never knew. I don't know whether you have been in Soroti, you know Awoja Lake, that first water mass you reach before you cross to Kumi.
Yes.
So they said, how do you pick a girl like this one also to put on the line of standing who does not even know Awoja? Meaning I have never reached Kampala. That was the belittling, that she has even never gone where? To Kampala. And I was going to be the last speaker. And then she said she was an in-law to the Prime Minister by then, Adiebo. She was an in-law to him, and anything about orphans, she would go direct So she does not even assume that me, Asamo, I know anybody, even in the local government. So I sat there looking like being belittled. And then worse still, how would it be good for us to choose a person who's disabled to be our chairperson of the district? How would people think about Soroti? So when I listened, I got up. I said, "Oh, members, I want to thank my elders who have just spoken before me. That time I was still a young person." And then I said, even people who go to Kampala have a first day to go to Kampala. And I'm very sure if you gave me this position, what my parents gave me was education. I can read I can read the signposts, I can move, and I can go where what? To know where the WESO office is. People started clapping. I said, and the program of WESO and the orphans does not need a prime minister. Supposing it's changed tomorrow, does it mean that the in-law, when he goes with the orphans? You put me, who is going to work at a neutral level with the people. Whoever will be in office will be the person I will approach on behalf of these orphans. And I got the vote, so I became the chairperson. And this chairperson was a very simple chairperson, and I came out. It came to Women Council, I think 1998, around there. I was nominated, I voted to be a chairperson of my ward without in Abushensa. So when I arrived, people are like, those days even civil servants were participating in politics. So I asked them, what am I supposed to do? I said, no, tomorrow you must go and meet the other people of the senior quarters and the ones in the town. I said, which women? So when they gave me the list, I said, will I manage? People said, no. Good enough, being a teacher is very good. When I reached there, I found the youth had taught. Those are taught in primary, now they were young boys. So they started encouraging me. They said, our teacher, you talk, how they give you morale. So I said, I don't know what to do now. So when I started, the first person introduced herself and she failed to talk. The second person also came, started stammering. So when I got in, I started roaring. So again, I became a chairperson of WESO for that level, and I went up to the district.
With a very good campaigning language here. We're still enjoying a conversation the story of Honorable Asamo Hellen Grace, the Minister of State for Disability Affairs here in Uganda. It is an interesting one, and I hope you're learning something for whoever wanted to really give up in life. But of course, we have to first go for a very short break and then come back.